Hey guys, Mike here. So we got another big week ahead of us, a shortened week. Remember, Thursday, half day, close at 1 p.m. Friday, close 4th of July. Let me know if you got any big plans going on, as well as I appreciate you guys who watched Saturday's video and commented when you're talking about this 10-year moratorium that's being put in this bill. I guess it passed the Senate at like 9 o'clock at night or something, so big hurdle there. So it looks like it's probably going to end up going through anyway, no matter what. And it seems like the big consensus is that people who are for the moratorium, and there's not many, but the ones that are, sat there and said that, well, what they're afraid is the states will stifle innovation and slow us down, and we'll either get behind China or something like that. And I can understand, what they're saying. The thing I would say is by laying a, moratorium across the whole country, because remember, if one state does it, another, you can just move, right? Relocate, see you later, whatever it is. Or the question is, why are they trying to stifle it, right? And so by and I'm trying to think of an analogy, and I can't really think of a good one for this, but putting a moratorium all across the nation, you can literally take any defense mechanisms away from the states to protect their constituents. And for example, I'll show you this real clip right here. This is what I'm talking about. And just imagine you're in a state who has a boatload of these coders and engineers right here.
You said you won't hire any more coders at Salesforce. And you've said today's CEOs will be the last to manage all human workforces. What does this mean for businesses?
I just had a meeting, coming from a meeting with my head of engineering, and we're looking at productivity levels of 30 to 50% this year in key functions like engineering, coding, support.
You're saying
service.
AI is doing 30 to 50% of the work?
AI is doing 30 to 50% of the work at Salesforce now. And I think that will, continue. I think that all of us have to get our head around this idea that AI can do things that before, we were doing, and we can move on to do higher value work.
And that's just the start. That's now. AI really hadn't even broke out yet. I mean, this is the main reason for AI, or the main benefits for companies to cut people, workforces, right? So far, they can't really make any money off apps or anything right now. They're trying to do it, but they're basically creating all these different platforms and coders and engineers. So imagine you have a huge section in your state which has engineers, right? Very high-paying jobs, and all of a sudden you start to see unemployment rate in your state go way up, and you're looking at why, and you realize it's AI platforms getting rolled out by all these companies that's doing it, and you're like, I remember these people elect you, right? So they want you to try to protect them and do what's right for them. And remember, your vote counts a lot more at the local levels, local, city, state, all that good stuff, than it ever will at the federal level. Federal government's not looking after you at all. And so now you've literally restricted them, handcuffed them, and they're not able to do it. Okay? And so, that's what I'm saying. In the military, I mean, we always say, and my grandpa taught me this before I ever got in the military, because he was in the military, is whenever you're going on an op or training for an op, you're hoping for the best, but you are preparing for the worst. You prepare for every scenario you can think of that's bad. Like, what can go wrong? And that's what I'm trying to do, and look ahead and not be that person which is one of the worst things in the world. And I cringe every time I hear somebody say this. They'll go, never going to happen to me and my family. Yep, those are the first people it's going to happen to. And the same thing with this whole moratorium. If it goes through and it's held up by the courts and the states are really restricted from ever having any defense against it, I promise you, I don't know if my channel will be around. I don't know if I'll be around in 10 years. But I will definitely say those are the people that most likely will be sitting on the breadline, collecting unemployment, going, man, that sucked. Didn't see that coming. Didn't think it would happen to me. Like, that's those folks. And so, we'll see what's going to happen. I hope, everything works out. Again, it looks like they're going to shove it through, even though, again, the majority of constituents are against it, but they don't represent us. They represent the big checks they're getting from these large corporations. And don't forget, also what's going to happen is small and medium-sized businesses who can't afford these kind of platforms, can't afford those AI chips and all that good stuff to develop AI platforms. See you later. Ain't nobody there to protect you now. So hopefully the federal government will step in for once in their life and do the right thing, but don't think it's going to happen. So appreciate all you guys who watch. Now we're going to get into all these different charts, some that look like they're going to continue to break out, some that might be getting ready to break out as well. And starting off with S&P very quickly, all-time new high right there. So when we look at this, the Qs obviously kept going. They've already set the new high and stuff. Tech is leading the way. And so when we look at this, a lot of people are trying to short this thing all the way up. It's like, well, good luck to you. But at some point in time, what you're looking for is just a retest of these previous all-time highs. maybe a little below, and then the continuation. We are coming to a bullish month if it continues. If you're looking for a reversal, just looking for a reversal structure, right? Look for it to break down below that, come right back above, suck everybody back in, and then turn over. Okay, now is that going to happen in the first 2 weeks? Again, it's the bullish, really 2 weeks of the year. If that continues out, but I think most people are watching that maybe in the second half, maybe in August, that kind of stuff. And that reminds me, real quick before I continue with the rest of these stocks, at the end I will have Jim Carson's latest prediction I could find as far as what he sees, and it has changed for sure from what I can see. I mean, he still expects a decline, but it's a little different. But I'll leave it at the end because a lot of people don't care about that, and that way you can watch it. And he kind of explains why. Now, looking at Google, for example, huge move up right here, big candle. Of course, it's had a really big, I guess, 4 days in a row right there. And this is what everybody's hoping happens to Apple, right? Which you finally get like an AI news headline. OpenAI turns to Google's AI chips to power its products. Okay, great. Woohoo. And again, it's still in this channel, but if this continues up, it's been the laggard, right? If it continues up, then look for that golden pocket right there around 182.49, 184, somewhere in that area. For this to happen, or as far as like the next target I would be looking at. But again, you got to break 181 first, and so we'll look for that. If not, if it does happen to retrace back down, then just look for 175.99 to be your retest and go. Okay. Well, when you look at the momentum has changed for right on the daily. The RSI is above that moving average, above the 50, and you're about to get a daily bullish MACD cross. So if that happens, we should continue to grind up here on the weekly above the 50, and the RSI is trying to get up there to that zero line to get across it. It's still below it right now. I think it's been below it about half of 2025 at this point in time. So just watch out for that. If it does get above it, then you should see this continue to move up. Now, Tuesday, of course, before we get into Tesla's chart, you can see they're going to have deliveries. Everybody's going to have deliveries. Nobody cares about Ford, GM, or even Toyota for that matter. But they're going to look at this for Tesla because they've been getting just awful numbers. And it's been grinding down, right? Why has it been grinding down? Get back all its gains from the robotaxi event, even though it's definitely a rollout over a number of weeks and stuff. But the real reason we'll get into is Nvidia. That's just as simple as it is, right? But again, it came back down. It's trying to hold this trend line right here. And your draw is going to be very simple. To the upside, it's going to be right up here. The high of 339 right there for now. So anywhere from 331, 339 right there. If it tries to come to the upside, if we break this trend line right here, then watch for 298 to around 310, right in that area, which will give you that golden pocket, that 305 area, which is definitely a level of interest. It's been an area of support and resistance in the past, and so I'll watch that. But it's simple. When you pull up Nvidia, right, you can see Nvidia right here has been doing what? The opposite. It's been moving up, moving on up, right? Just like the Jeffersons. Okay, so that's 5 green candles in a row, all-time new high on this one. And so, maybe and again, semiconductors have been pretty dang hot. We'll watch and see if we come back down between like 150, 152 right there if we do want to get a retest, which I'd love to see of that. And if that happens, I'll almost bet money Tesla's probably going to end up moving up off of that. But again, I showed you this the other day. It continues right now until we see something different. Just watch the call volume in the morning. If Nvidia is getting it, then we know what day is going to be for Tesla. If it's not and Tesla's getting it, we know what day is going to be for Nvidia. But right now they're moving in opposite directions since May, and then really since 2024, as I showed you. And so, Nvidia is moving up and Tesla is moving on down to the basement right there. And again, when Nvidia was, not doing anything, Tesla was moving on up. Okay. And so we need to see this broke or see if it's going to continue. I scratched my head wondering why. Again, it has to do with the options flow for sure. I mean, one gets hundreds of millions, the other gets nothing. And just flips back and forth. But the options market is pretty big. So you can figure at some point in time, like they used to for a long time, they'll move in the right direction. But right now, I mean, even semiconductors like Intel are breaking trend lines that are a year and a half old. You know how I feel about Intel. It just wastes our tax dollars. But again, it finally broke out of there. You thought, oh, it's going to be a big day, and then it just sucked back down. But this is another one just showing you, AMD broke its trend line. SMCI is trying to work its way up to this trend line. And so they all kind of have this same setup right here. If this one does continue to break out, as a lot of people do own it, you can clearly see, what levels. I mean, look to hold 2246 right there. If that holds, then we're going 2480, then 2655. Okay, it's one of many semiconductors that look like this. You pull up AMD, again, it broke its trend line already and just rocketed up once it did it. Got above that 200. This one right here, so far these lines are playing out. It keeps hitting the target, stalling for a minute, hitting the target, stalling. So, we'll just keep working at it. If it breaks 146 right there, then we're moving up to 155.45. If we get a pullback down, look for 135 to 138 to actually hold right there. And again, pullbacks are normal. It happens, especially when you got huge moves up. The good thing for AMD is it's really kind of stair-stepped its way up pretty good. So that's not bad at all. So just rocket shipping up like some other stocks have. Now you pull up SMCI, you kind of see the same thing where it hadn't got up this trend line. Again, it's a weekly fair value gap. I told you, once we get up in it, we should slow down, see a pullback, and that's what's happened so far. If it can get past that 50.68 level right there, 50, 68, $51, I think we're going to 64 for sure. But again, if we come back down, we just need to hold certain levels. Okay, so if we come back down here, we'll pull it from the previous low, anywhere from 45.28, 44.75, somewhere in there. If we pull it at that level, should hopefully see a bounce on this and start heading towards that trend line right there. If everything stays bullish and we just keep moving up and loving life. Palantir got a nice drop the other day right here, and what happened was they blame on the Russell 1000. Index rebalance, which is fine. We'll see if that's what's going to happen. But when looking at the chart, you can see it came right down the bottom of this channel it's been in, right, since May. So that's where it held for now. That happens to coincide with, obviously, the top of that level, 130.75 as well, if you look to the left. And so we'll take that trend line away. And so if this one does get a bounce up, we'll talk about those levels. But if it continues, if it falls out of this channel, right there, you can clearly see that used to be previous all-time high a while back. But if it comes down right between 120, 124, somewhere in there, as we've seen it hold many times as it came back down and retested that, that's where you want to look for anything that falls like that. It also just happens to put it in a discount as well. It's already in a discount, so if you get a bounce, it's at the golden pocket now, I'm not going to be surprised at all, right? I know plenty of people that were buying this. We'll see if this is going to get a bounce. Moving back up right here, and if it'll break 148 and continue higher is what we got to see. Okay, now looking over here at HIMS, again, massive move up. Very simple. This line's been there for a little while. You can see why it was support, was resistance. Okay, that's where it rejected that the other day. And so look to see if that line breaks, then we could absolutely close this entire gap to head to this trend line. Okay, and then either see rejection or breakthrough, or are we going to continue the rejection we saw Friday once we moved up here and just start heading back down towards that $40 area? If we do break that shaded box between 28 and 36, something to watch out for. Again, this is a high flyer. Lawsuits are coming out. All kinds of crazy news is coming out. So, again, we'll watch that one continue to move. And, again, that's not even a big move. 16% to close the gap. People think, oh, it's a big move. No, it's not. In 2 days, this freaking thing moved, what, 27%? Yeah, right there, 27%. So that's nothing. This is a high flyer type meme stock movement you get out of this stock. Apple, which we talked about, this thing 8 weeks now, it's set here and consolidated. 8 weeks stuck in that tight range, right? If it does break down, look for 188, 190 right there finally. It's setting up definitely for a move. There's no doubt about that. Or you feel that gap between 210, 220. And this is the bullish month. This is the most bullish month for a lot of stocks for a reason. So let's see if they end up coming out with some kind of AI, and I think that's what it's going to need, honestly, some AI headline of some kind. So far, it's been a failure for them. Nike, somebody asked me about this one. Very simple on this one. It's all about anchor VWAPs, right? It fell out of this channel, which goes back to 1993, okay? And finally, remember, they had bad earnings. The earnings sucked, okay? But again, you get so beat down. We've seen this with so many stocks that are so beat down, doesn't even matter. The CEO could get on top of the desk, take a dump right down the middle of the desk, pee on everybody, and the stock is still going up because it's been so freaking hammered down. Okay, there is a bottom at some point in time. But if you follow these anchor VWAPs from all the earnings calls and the year-to-date anchor VWAPs, it just moves from one to the other, and you'll make it a support. They become resistance. See, it just grinds all the way down on this thing. And so right now we skipped above that VWAP, came into another anchor VWAP right here with also a very important level around that 75 area. That's where we got rejected at. So now if you can break above that, finally get back in that channel, okay, you can continue to move up. This has been a big move up for Nike. I think it was up 15, 16% on Friday on bad earnings, and there's a big gap below, and they still have a lot of problems, okay? But just watch this one to see if it will absolutely clear that VWAP. But you can see the momentum. Overbought on the daily. The RSI is above 0 for sure on the weekly. The MACD is way down there. And but you are finally getting above that 50 line on the weekly RSI now. Boeing's another one. Obviously, waste our tax dollars with this one. But if it continues to break out and it breaks that 214.55, I believe, level right there, watch for this one to head up to 235, 237. And if we break above that, you can see there's not a whole lot of resistance if this thing gets moving, because of the way it moved back in like 2020. And I believe it was like 2018 or something. It just rocketed up and it just crashed and burned in 2020. So there's not a whole lot of resistance. You see that kind of like volume gap right there. And so watch Boeing to break up there, at least hit the trend line, get rejected, and then if it wants to break above, you can get in that gap and absolutely move. Again, I can't predict doors flying off planes or anything else, but that's, see right there, I think you can see the volume gap goes over to 332 if it can get up in that area. Celsius is another one that's been on a big mover right now. I'd love to see a pullback on this. You could see that run continue going basically all the way up to like that $50 area, which wouldn't surprise me. Okay, this is another one that was left for dead, and all of a sudden you get the bounce and you go, oh, okay, there it is, right? Remind you of Nike and some others, okay? You can look at any moving averages, got its golden cross right here, 200 is curling up, 50 is up. Like I said, I'd like to see a pullback on this one, but at this rate, I'm not sure if we're going to get that or not, just because I showed you that chart where, these high beta stocks are just flying. So we'll see if it's going to hold 45.37 right there and continue to move up. And somebody asked about Pepsi, and oh boy, look at this thing, consolidating for weeks as well, just like Apple. Right, but it's just one of those things where if it breaks this level, yeah, no doubt it's going to be starting to head down to like 115 right there to that next long-term trend line. But if it can break above, finally get some kind of move above that 50, right, there's a 200-week way up at 167. But again, if it starts moving up, you can see there's not a lot of resistance to move back up. It just gets no love. And if it does, like 143 would be the target on the first one. Then, of course, they hit that 200 moving average where that's going to be the test would be another one. But, all these stocks when they're left for dead, it's like Dollar General. Remember it was left for dead? It's over. It's done with. Boom. All of a sudden it goes from 70 to 115. Right. And so, again, you look at these. And, again, these are defensive stocks, right? A Pepsi, a Dollar General. But eventually they finally get enough where the institutions say, yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and start moving in. And then there'll be some news that comes out all shocking. Oh, look at that positive news. Or they just get so finally hammered down, even with bad earnings like you see happening on Nike, they start to move up, right? And so that's the kind of move you're looking for in Pepsi if it happens and you see the drawdown. It's on that level now, okay? Now, when you look at what's going on as far as data, we got Chicago PMI Monday, Tuesday, final manufacturing PMI, ISM manufacturing PMI, JOLTS job openings, ISM manufacturing prices, construction spending. So big day there. Then Wednesday, you get Challenger job cuts year over year, ADP, non-farm employment change, and crude oil inventories. Thursday is the half day. We get average hourly earnings month over month, non-farm employment changes, unemployment rate, unemployment claims, trade balance, final services PMI, ISM services PMI, factory orders month over month. So that's a lot for a half day. And then Friday is 4th of July. So I hope everybody enjoys that. Now that leads me in this question, which I don't want to put in Saturday's videos. It would have made it way, way too long. But somebody asked, what is your current outlook on the Jim Carson forecast for a drop in July OPEX through September OPEX and overall downfall crash in third quarter? Have you heard any updates? I'll just give you the updates and not my opinion on this. This is what he had to say right before June OPEX, which is a couple weeks ago.
From a macro perspective, today, actually tomorrow morning, right in the AM print, represents the last puff of Vana charm flows, and the vol compression will continue for a bit, but the actual Vana charm flows are now done. And so if we were seeing kind of sideways action in the face of all of those flows, which by the way are historic because the amount of structured product issuance and all these things, as I said, are growing at such a scale that these things are more and more important, more dominant. Go look through the last 12 months of options expirations. Just go draw a line. There you can go find it on the internet, on Twitter. Go take a look. Every single one is some kind of an inflection point. That's not a coincidence. Okay. And so the point is we've gotten to the actual movement price action is telling you a lot about of what's likely coming here. Now that doesn't mean a crash. That doesn't mean this market is about to, that'll get the headlines and get everybody ramped up. But I want to be clear, we strongly believe that vol compression will continue for another month, at least, probably two. And that's from an implied vol perspective. And the implied vol has a reflexive effect on realized. but we feel strongly that ultimately, especially the next several weeks, market down, vol down is a very high probability outcome, and that increasingly that implied vol will outperform. Think of a 2022 environment where market dropped 27%, right, at its low, but the whole way it was massive vol compression. It was very kind of a slow-moving train wreck. And the reason was because people were very well hedged, vol was very well supplied throughout, right? And people were prepared for the decline. Didn't mean the decline didn't happen, by the way, right? So we feel strongly that is broadly what we're looking at. It will be a slow motion train wreck. We do think the range for the year is set, meaning we don't think we'll get below the lows, which, by the way, are now close to 20% below here, which is pretty wild to think just a couple months ago. I don't think we're returning there. I don't think we're returning there quickly, but would it? My base case, and we'll see, is in the next 6 months we return to those lows, and we do it in a kind of slow market down, vol down drip. And there will be a lot of realized volatility, increasing amount of realized volatility as we move forward. So, it doesn't mean that realized volatility is going to happen now. But we do think that increasingly as you move forward, the vehicles to take advantage of these moves are going to be zero DTE type options, right? Which are just pure gamma, pure convexity. We do think there'll be a lot of macro headlines and big kind of disjointed moves, but I think it's going to look more like a stair step, and that'll be reiterated, reemphasized by implied vol compression, which will continue to be persistent. And then as a secondary reason that we don't turn around as quickly is this Von and Charm effect. If vol expands and you have a big vol event, well, that means that vol has to come down, which drives these Von and Charm flows back. But if you never get the vol expansion, really hard to bottom and get a V return. And that just forces kind of this slow, painful grind lower.
And so, the one thing I didn't hear him say in that interview was the 35 to 45%. He's saying it's going to be a slow grind down, kind of like 2022, where vol got compressed. And that's why the market just grinded down slow but surely. And of course, you're going to get your bear market rallies and all that fun stuff. So again, it's going to change because he follows the macro and he follows the flows, right? So if he starts seeing something different in the flows, he's going to change how that's going to go. And what people think is going to happen here is, since all this demand got pulled forward, I'll show you another interview like Dan Niles talking about like the Mag 7 earnings coming up, which he thinks is going to be better for why? Because everything got pulled forward, and then people think, oh, the macro wins, and of course the reason why the president, everybody's going, please cut rates, is because it's going to start to catch up, right, coming into the third and fourth quarter, and you're not going to get that crazy move like you would as far as holiday shopping and things of that nature, because a lot of people had pulled it forward already. And so, again, we'll see if that's going to be the case now. We've heard about it forever. We've heard about recessions for I don't know how many years now, and still haven't had an official real recession. So, we're going to see. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm with him as far as I believe, follow the flows, follow the macro, and when you combine it, it'll kind of give you a decent idea, okay? Thanks for all who watch. Please hit that like, subscribe button. Really appreciate you guys. Think about signing with the membership, less than McDonald's combo, and it's everything you get with it. Only $7.99 a month. Just hit the link down in the bottom of the description. It's the Patreon link right there. And I'm seeing you guys tomorrow for another fun one. Have a good one.